The Branding Your Business podcast is for small business owners looking to build a customer favorite brand and a value driven business. From solo shows covering marketing tactics to experts sharing their brand stories, each episode delivers actionable insights for entrepreneurs who want to impact the world. We're sharing how strategic moves and authentic connections can build a profitable business minus the burnout. Tune into the Branding Your Business podcast with me, Praise Santos McKenna of Come Plum, to design a brand your audience adores while building a life you love. Hey, welcome back to the Branding Your Business podcast. My name is Praise Santos McKenna. I'm the founder of the branding studio Come Plum, and I'm your host who gets to bring on the coolest people to this podcast. I just count my lucky stars when I get to get people in the online room with me. And many of you already know her. This is my friend Maya. Maya Nichol is a social media strategist, educator, and mom dedicated to helping entrepreneurs and small business owners grow and monetize their online presence. To be honest, she probably came up on your discovered Instagram page many a time. I remember meeting her in person and realizing oh wait, I feel like we've been connected before. It was like that deja vu moment because I don't know, Maya, do you ever get that feeling where you're like, okay, wait, are you my internet friend or real life friend or
All the time.
both?
Yes, all the time.
Which maybe is just so Gen Z millennial now, but I guess it's the norm. And so you all might know Maya, but let me tell you even more about her. She has this motto, which is stacking income and stacking memories. Maya believes in building a life-giving business that earns money while creating meaningful moments. As a mom, she's all about finding efficient ways to approach work and social media, helping herself and her clients maximize time with family. Known for her relatable teaching style and actionable insights, Maya empowers clients to simplify content creation, engage their ideal audience, and build thriving businesses that align with their values and lifestyle. So you all know we talk about this all the time. Yes, it's about building a business, but it's also being mindful about the people we are becoming along the way. We can build these businesses, but then if we kind of lose ourselves or our values along the way, then what's the point? So we're going to be diving into a lot of kind of these juicy practical insights, but how does that relate to our lives as people who are building these lives that we've only kind of dreamed of, and now we're making them really happen. Maya and I were chatting before we hit record about kind of our dream just to live in a land where we have fresh eggs or space to move, just kind of what our bodies are wired for. Okay, and Maya, I want you to just ground us a little bit. Some folks are listening to the podcast, but some are also watching the video. What do you see outside your window? Paint a picture for us. Where are you in the world? What is life looking like these days?
Yeah, so I moved from not city in terms of California city, but city in Utah. So I was just outside Salt Lake City in Utah, and I was living in a townhome there where everything is very cookie cutter, which is great. It was great. We lived there for 3 years and we loved it and we met so many amazing people, but we wanted more space. And so right now, looking outside my window, I have two windows here. I see squirrels running around. We were just looking at a hawk that was just sitting on our fence post over here. And I have about 4 acres of land that's behind me that will eventually be some cows and some chickens. And there's some trees and just the little homestead life is basically what is right outside my window, which has been a dream of mine and my husband's for 6 years of our marriage now. And we just moved in about a week and a half ago. So literally dreams coming to fruition here.
I'm throwing some digital confetti. And you know how cottage core was such a thing? Is homestead core becoming a thing? Can
I
we
think
say
so. And
that?
if not, I will make it a thing.
Yeah, okay, just we are just being futurist right now. Homestead core coming to you. I love the idea of just oh yeah, just hanging out, saw a hawk outside.
Yeah.
It just feels calming to me,
Yes.
which this sounds like kind of the part of your life and business where you're stacking memories and really stacking why are we aiming to make this business, make this money? And so can you tell us a little bit about that journey? Did you already know okay, if I'm going to build a business, it has to align to my values? Or did you kind of stumble upon it because you realized it wasn't aligned? How did this
Yeah.
kind of perspective of yours come together?
Yeah, good question. So when I very first started my business, I feel like everyone starts, I shouldn't put an umbrella statement, but I feel like that's probably the case, especially for listeners in this audience, that you start your business for freedom and the freedom to live your life in the way that you want to live it. And so that's how I started my business. And at the time when I first started my business, I was not a mom and I had a lot of time to be putting into my business. And so what ended up happening is I was not building a life-giving business. I was building a business where my life was like kind of on the side. And so the way that I like to think of it is like I would plan out my business and all the things that I had to do in my business, which as you know, as business owners, there's a lot of things to do. And your to-do list is always it's always there. And so I'd plan out my business and then I'd look at my calendar and be like, okay, well, what space do I have for my life this month? And it would be like half day, on Sunday evening. Like, okay, well, that's where my date night's going to be. And that's kind of how my business was for the first, I would say about year and a half of my business. And I realized really quickly, not, I guess not really quickly, because a year and a half is a long time, but throughout that entire journey, there were a lot of shifts that were happening where I was like, I'm going to burn out at this rate. I mean, there were some days where I was working 12 to 18-hour days. And you love what you do. I love what I do. And so there is that aspect to it for sure. And it wasn't like, oh my gosh, I have to do this because, right, I'm my own boss. But there was just like so many things to do that I was just like, I need to do all the things right now to be successful. And I was really caught up in like you have to wake up at 5 a.m. to be successful and start your day in that way. And so there was a lot of things that I was doing that were just not in alignment with my values and the way that I wanted to live my life. But it took me a while to like really figure out like, okay, I don't have to do all of these things and do them in the way that I'm doing them to be successful. And so it was like a whole process then of unlearning all of those things that I was doing. So for a year and a half, I did all of those things. Then it's like, well, that's what I was so used to. And that's what was working so well. So I was like, okay, I have to unlearn all of these things. And that was a whole nother journey. But I really think for me, it happened when I first found out that I was pregnant with my first baby. She's like 14, maybe 15 months now. And when I first found out that I was pregnant with her, I was like, okay, things have to change because what I envision as a mom is not what my life looks like right now. Like, there's no way that my business and the way that it's structured right now and how I'm showing up in my business and the energy and the time that it's taking, like, I won't be able to be a present mom and all of the things that I want to be as a mom with the way that my business is. And so that's really where I would say like my official journey started like 14, 15 months ago, but then 9 months prior to that. So I think I figured out that I was pregnant like February of 2023. So that's when it really started. And throughout that entire journey, I was actually on a call with one of my clients. And after we had hopped off that call, we were talking about making memories or something on that call and building a life giving business. And she messaged me after we hopped off that call. And she was like, look at all these like payment notifications. She had been paid a bunch of times by people who were purchasing her offers. And that's where the motto stacking income, stacking memories came from. And that's just something that I have, I guess, leaned more heavily into. I would say it's like my motto now. I have like a bright neon sign that I hang in my office that says stacking income, stacking memories. And it's not only just a reminder of like that I want to build a life-giving business, but also too that like that is possible for me because when I was in those first year and a half, almost 2 years of business. For me, it was a business of ors, like you can do this or you can do that. But for me right now, it's a business of ands where it's like I can be a mom and I can be an amazing present mom, but I can also run an amazingly successful business and impact people in that way. And so I don't have to give up anything to be able to pursue my dreams and also be a really good mom at the same time. And so moving into this house for me, there's nothing really particular about the house itself, like bringing myself and my family here where this is something that we have dreamed about for so long, where it's going to allow me to stack even more memories while I'm stacking income is just really, really powerful.
That's so beautiful. But it's also like we hear the transformation, but there's people listening who are maybe in it and they're like, oh, Maya, do I not need to be working 12 to 18-hour days? Oh, there's a way that I can have a business where I'm not waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning. And I hope this podcast is a permission slip to let people know, like, okay, remember why you started this. Like a lot of folks leave like the corporate world and they're like, they want to do this thing for freedom, but then they chain themselves to it
Yeah.
just the same. And there's so much rewriting in our minds that has to happen to just be like, wait, there's another way. It's not just option A, option B, there's maybe an option C of maybe it's a yes and not this either or. And it's hearing more stories like this or hearing even of your client who's just like, wait, look, it's possible.
Yeah.
It's happening. It's like all coming together. And I know that you teach this more like sustainable way of getting eyes on your offers. Your like sweet spot is Instagram. Your sweet spot is just like letting people know what you do through this medium that we all like know and love and maybe kind of hate too. Like some of us maybe have a toxic relationship with it, which is
Yeah.
so interesting because you were talking about there's people who think they have to spend all day on like Instagram to
Yeah.
kind of make their business work. And you're also demystifying like some of that where it's just is like you don't want that life for people, even though you're teaching people how to use Instagram. You're like, wait, let's back it up a little bit. But I want to back it up even more. How did you hone in like, wait, I actually love teaching on this topic. It works for our business. And it's been enough for you to have so many offers around Instagram too. How did this Instagram niche happen for Maya?
Yeah, so we're going way back. So I'll give you the short version of the story. But in 2019, I got into network marketing, and that was at the same time that I was in the nursing program at my college. And I got into network marketing as a way to basically have a flexible job where I could bring in income while I was going to nursing school. I ended up falling in love with network marketing. I dropped out of nursing school to take my network marketing business full time. And then COVID happened during all that, which was, just a wild time in general for everyone. But it was at the beginning of 2021 where reels were super popular. They had been around for a few months at that time, but there were a bunch of people who were growing from these 30-day reel challenges, and I saw their growth and I knew, okay, well, just from business perspective, like more eyes on my business, more followers means potentially more revenue as long as I'm, leveraging that in the correct way. And so I was like, hey, I want that for my network marketing business. Well, I took on a 30-day challenge. I didn't grow at all. And I was like, oh, well, that was not what I was expecting. So then I carried on for another 30 days. I had grown, I want to say about a couple hundred followers at the time, which was a lot for me because I had only like 2,000 followers. So I was like, hey, that's great, but that's not like the tens of thousands that I was like hoping for, that you see other people who have done these challenges achieve. So I carried on for another 30 days. So 90 reels in 90 days, which I had also posted some carousel posts in there too. So I think it ended up being like 120 posts in 90 days. And it wasn't until like 2 weeks after that 90-day period where I started to grow. And so I grew from right about like the 2K to 10K mark in like 2 weeks, which was crazy. And back then, that's when the swipe up link was on stories. And I got the swipe up link and I was like, I am the coolest person ever. I'm like walking down the street. I'm like, everyone should know my name. And I think it was like
It's
3 months
me,
after.
Maya. You might have
Yeah.
seen me. It's me.
Yeah, and it was all because of the swipe up link, but I think it was like 3 months after that, they got rid of the swipe up link and they gave the links to everyone, and I was like, "Come on, guys. I've literally have worked for how many years for this, and you just gave that away?" But anyways, as I was growing my own Instagram account, I was posting some Instagram tips, but it wasn't like, "Oh, I'm gonna become an Instagram expert." It was just, this is what I'm kind of learning through my 120 posts over 90 days, just because I was like, this is interesting. And I had other people who were on my network marketing team that were following me. And again, like I was teaching Instagram growth to them. And so I think for me, it was more of I was posting for them to be able to understand like what I was learning and like be able to learn from that. But it really took off. And I had a lot of business owners during that time where I grew from, 2K to 10K basically overnight that were like, hey, I see that you're growing. Will you help me to grow on Instagram? And I was like, sure, I'll open up some coaching calls. So I opened up a few coaching calls. I think it was 2 weeks after I had opened those up. They were booked out for months in advance. And I was like, whoa, this could actually be something. So I ended up stepping away from network marketing because I just did not have the capacity to do both. And I started building out a course because I was like, I can't serve everyone through one-on-one coaching. I think on my wait list by the end of that year, by the end of 2021, I think I had like 400 people on my wait list. And I was like, I can't do one-on-one coaching for all of you. So I launched a course and that went really well. And then a few months after that, I launched my membership, which I still have to this day. Kind of, I mean, the way that I put it is God's hand. Like it was never me saying like, oh, I want to become an Instagram expert. And I also too never saw myself really in the marketing world online in general, but I came across network marketing and then that led me actually to, a bunch of different opportunities in between, but then, my business, and it was just like one thing after the other. And I have just continued to go down that route, and it was just Instagram. And I also have integrated like sustainable business coaching into that as well. So that's, I guess, the short version of that story.
That just makes me so happy to hear because I categorize you in my head as one of my friends who is actually like, Maya has a literal formula for this. Like she has, and I know that your brain also works that way. And you can't have that, like this formula, like without this part. And there's parts that I actually can't explain that are like beyond me. It's the magic, it's
Yep.
God's hand. Like you just take the first step, you don't give up. You keep on doing the thing and then just watch things fall into place or watch an audience come out or watch people like almost tell you this is the way your business is going because we want it from you. And so for those listening, sometimes I know you all are like having your own conversations with ChatGPT right now, asking to come up with like a formula or a strategy, or you're researching a ton of things. Maybe you're watching our YouTube videos. Like we put this information out there to help you. And I want you all to just leave space for like just kind of sitting with things and kind of observing where things
Yeah.
are and just like seeing where things are landing too, because there's the magic. And I feel like in this age of AI and technology, I feel like from human to human, we have to remind ourselves like there's so much more big picture things going on that are beyond us that we also have to pay attention to and integrate that into our life and business. And I love hearing that story of yours because I remember hearing it on the Flow Desk retreat. And I'm like I'm so excited to be here like, in a front row seat with my popcorn, just like, okay, what's going to happen next? Like if this has already happened in the last few years, what's next? And I think that is such an interesting perspective, not a shift, but a more like a widening of like,
Yeah.
remember, like life is so much bigger than these like 5 points that we're teaching you on a reel, which is still relevant, but
Yeah.
there's just so much more. There's so much more at stake of our journey of going through things, which if I can ask you, maybe you don't even know the answer, but do you have a feeling of where the business is kind of going next? Are you getting like, okay, well, I'm sensing a shift of our audience is asking for this, or my gut is just telling me to kind of go this way? Any kind of inklings or
Yeah.
any writing in the sky coming your way?
Yeah, I think for me, it's not necessarily like a topic shift, but more so just a simplifying of my business in general, knowing like that that's the direction that I want to go. And for me, something that I have always found so interesting looking back on my journey is there's always been a lot of doors open, a lot of opportunities. Sometimes you don't even realize that the doors actually open until you actually walk through it and you're looking back and you're like, oh, wait, there was like a lot of opportunities there. But also, too, how necessary it is for there to be doors closing. Because in order for you to have opportunities, oftentimes you have to leave things behind. And I think that that's a huge part of what is so scary about moving forward in any journey at any stage that you're in. And I think someone listening to this right now and they might be hearing about my journey and thinking, well, I wish that like I had just like fallen into a business like she did. Of course, I could spend an hour talking to you about just all the little intricate things where there were a bunch of doors that I had to close down that was really scary for me. And it's not to say that everything just fell into my lap, but I also think too, like I saw an opportunity and I was like, this is really scary. And I'm leaving something behind that I really, really love, but I'm willing to take the chance on that. And if it fails, I know that I can always build something new, and I think that there's that aspect to it. But the reason why I brought that up is because right now I'm in a season where I've created over 25 different offers during my 3.5 years of business, which is a lot of different offers. And, during each season when I've created those, I have loved those offers and I poured everything that I have had into these offers. But I'm really in a season right now where I am closing doors on a lot of these offers. And it's not because they're not amazing, but it's like my heart isn't there anymore, And I think that as you go through business, that's one of the scariest things. Like when you've been in business for a few years now, where it's like, could I do all of the things? Could I keep doing all these things? Yeah, 110%. Also, too, like, is that where my heart is? And is that where I should be going? And so for me, like I've had this conversation with myself so many times since the beginning of this year where it's like, okay, like it's really scary to let things go, but my heart's not there anymore. And like if I put my heart into something else and I give it my 110%, like I know that I'm going to succeed in that. And with me letting offers go that are bringing in revenue, like that's kind of scary, right? Like, it's working, like why would I let that go? But through so many different conversations and just thoughts and conversations, even with God too, just like knowing that there are doors that have to close in order for more doors to open. And so I'm kind of in the season of like trusting that I don't have these other doors that are open for me right now. And I have to close these other doors, knowing that like there's going to be doors that do open once I close. Does that make sense?
Yes, I'm getting goosebumps because I'm just thinking of my friends who've like had ideas to take the leap and do something, create an offer or leave their job, whatever it is. There's so much in life that takes courage. And sometimes we think that we have to have the next door open. Okay, great. So that's the one I'm going through. And then I'm going to close it and then I'm going to walk through it. But then you're like, okay, here's the scary part. There's this quote that I really like. It says like jump and then the net will follow. You kind of just have to like take the risk, go for it, but it's really scary. And it's also, I will say, muscle memory too. Like you have to just start doing it, even if it's a small risk here or there. Maybe it's saying no to going out this weekend with a friend. Like,
Yeah.
how do you just start building that muscle memory? Start saying no so you can say no to things that are just like your heart is not in it, which I love to hear that because as someone who has created, 25 offers in 3.5 years, that's a lot of stuff you're putting out there.
Yeah.
And at the same time, you're really honoring that idea. You're really honoring the service you're providing for people of, hey, I was really excited about it. And now that season has ended. And now we move on to this next season. So it feels very honoring of yourself, of where your audience is. But it is scary just because we would like to kind of keep all the things going so it feels like a safety net. But safety is also an illusion when in fact we just kind of have to, okay, like take a deep breath, close that door, and just like open ourselves up to other things, which is huge. But I'm thinking of the folks who are listening right now. They're like, okay, Praise and Maya, easy for you two to talk about. I'm just like trying to like just even take a first step. Or maybe they're listening and saying, Maya, I'm just trying to show up on Instagram, but I open up this app and that's like, I'm hoping the net will follow there, but I'm so scared. Like it's so vulnerable to put yourself out there. Like, if someone was just starting on Instagram or LinkedIn or YouTube or starting to create content where they're sharing their knowledge, because that's really what we're doing. It's just like sharing the resources we have. What are like three basic principles if someone were to start? Like, here's what a hook is. Like, this is how you get people excited. If you were to boil it down for folks who are like, I want to be closing my door on 25 offers, but I've had negative step. Like,
Yeah.
how do we roll that back for the beginners in the room to just like take these first steps of showing up on Instagram, showing up online?
Yeah, for sure. Something I want to say prior to saying those steps is one of the best, I guess it would be a mindset to have going into anything that you do as an entrepreneur, in my opinion, is that everything is figure outable. Figure outable. I don't know if that's actually a word, but whether you're at the very beginning stages of your business or whether you're, in this in between season like I am where doors are closing and, you're hoping doors are going to be opening. I think a lot of times people are like, well, what if I do X? What if I show up on Instagram? What if I post this content? What if I create this offer? What if I stop selling this offer, whatever it is, and I fail or it doesn't work out or I lose money or I lose time or whatever it is the scenario for you, you have everything already inside of you to be able to figure that out. You're just on a journey of uncovering those things, uncovering those skills, uncovering the beliefs and the power inside of you to be able to navigate whatever's coming at you next. And so that's just what I wanted to say there as I was talking about doors closing and doors opening is, it's scary. Whether you're at the very beginning and you just close, a door to your corporate job and you're like, I'm just trying to figure this out, or whether you're like kind of in the in between where you're like, maybe you have two doors open and that's great too. And you're like, you got one foot in each door and you're like, I don't know what I'm doing here. Everything is figure outable, and just reminding yourself that like everything I need is already inside of me. And I'm on this journey to uncover it. And like, you already have the power. It's already there. You already got it. But in terms of Instagram specifically, their first thing that I would say is definitely hooks. Because if you can't get people to consume those first few seconds of your reel or, even read the first slide of your carousel post, then it doesn't matter what comes next after that. It doesn't matter what your caption is. It doesn't matter what your call to action statement is because they're not getting there, right? And so there are three hooks that I always recommend for every single piece of content that you create, whether it's a reel or whether it's a post or whatever it is. You have your text hook. So that's like the text box that pops up on a reel, or it's that, the text that's on the very first slide of your carousel. You need a visual hook. So if we're talking in terms of reels, some examples of visual hooks might be the color that you're wearing. Bright colors are great visual hooks. Maybe it's you kind of like jumping into the frame, or maybe it's you using your hands, or you have some sort of prop. Like you see oftentimes people will be like doing their makeup as they are talking to you on camera. That's a visual hook. And then you need a caption hook. And the caption hook is that very first line of your caption. It is usually a sentence, if not like half of a sentence. There are not a lot of characters there that you need to utilize there for that caption hook, but oftentimes this is like five more tips below, and then you have like an arrow, and then they have to click into your caption where it says like read more. They click into that and they can read more. So those are the 3 hooks that you need to have. Now, if you are doing a talking reel where it's like face to camera, you're talking, there is another hook that I do recommend having, which is your verbal hook, which is that first sentence that you speak at the very beginning of your reel. And that needs to be different than the text hook that pops up. So again, your 3 hooks, just to recap shortly, you have your text hook, you have your visual hook, and you have your caption hook. Now, in terms of your text hook, you really want to think about the language that your ideal client is using. And this is really hard for a lot of people because they don't know who their ideal client is, because they're trying to speak to everyone, because they're worried if they narrow down on one person that they are going to miss out on the opportunity of serving all these other people. So my recommendation to you is thinking about that one person that has a one problem that you can solve with one offer. Just if you're just getting started, just think about that. You can expand from there. There's so many more opportunities for you to talk to more people and have other offers and do other things in the future, but just start there. And so thinking about the dialogue that they're using, whether it's the dialogue in your ideal client's head, like what are they thinking to themselves? Like what are the thoughts that they are thinking, or the dialogue that they're speaking? Like think about if they were at a coffee shop with their best friend, how would they be explaining the problems that they have? And then also the dialogue too that they are speaking to you. So look at your direct messages, look at your comment section, and not so much even like, yes, you can go there for like content ideas, but really paying attention to the language that they're using and how they're phrasing what their problems are. Because oftentimes as creators, we're like, well, yeah, I know what my ideal client's problems are. And yes, you're probably right. But the way that we are going to phrase that is oftentimes going to be different than the way that our ideal client would actually phrase what it is their problems are, or how they're asking their questions. Like if I have my ideal client and I think, oh, well, they're probably asking themselves, like, how do I lose weight? Like, yeah, that's probably true, but like they might be actually asking the question in the phrasing of, I've tried keto diet before to lose weight and it was not sustainable for me. I need a more sustainable way to lose weight. Same question there, but different wording, right? And so when we can use the language that our ideal client uses in our hooks, that's going to really draw them in, because they're going to look at that, they're going to see that, or they're going to hear that if it's a verbal hook, and they're going to be like, oh my gosh, this person gets me because they're speaking my language, because it literally is their language, right? So you want to go to the source. That's the easiest way possible. And if you're like, I'm getting started, I have no followers, I have no comments, I have no direct messages, I get you. We all start from somewhere. Facebook groups are a really great place to get started. There are Facebook groups for any niche, any topic. I promise you, you can probably find hundreds of Facebook groups for whatever it is that you're doing. Reddit threads are another great one. And also looking at other people who are in your niche or in a similar niche and looking at the comment section, or even looking at sometimes their Instagram stories. Like if they do a Q&A, what are the questions that people are asking in that Q&A box? So that's the first tip. I know that was a lot there. Do you want to break that down? Do you have any questions about that before we dive into a few more tips here?
This is like you asked Maya just for like a little nugget. She gives you a whole tray. This is what I love about her too, because she's like, okay, y'all. It's about like knowing your people, because we have to like back it up. If you're trying to start a business, it's just serving people. There are people who have a problem or a challenge, and you have the solutions to make their life easier, or maybe you can help them become wiser or wealthier, right? But marketing is just this gap in between, is to let them know you have this thing, right? And so we say hooks because I guess it's a fishing analogy of like, what is that thing that really gets them? But then when we're over here in business solving problem land here, we forget how human these people are. And you are just giving us a really easy reminder. It's just like, what are they saying? Like, hang out with them, whether it's hanging out with them online or like remembering what your friend vented to you about. and use that phrasing. And Maya is giving you really like practical points of if you are using Instagram as your medium, these are the places. This is huge. Do you ever feel like you wear so many hats as a small business owner? I totally get that. Here at Come Plum, we want to keep you in your zone of genius, how you serve and show up for people. So leave the branding to us. In a collaborative way through brand coaching, we help you define your brand foundations, your brand strategy, and your brand expression, all that fun stuff like logo, websites, videos, photos, and more. If you go to comeplum.com and mention in the contact form that you heard about us through our Branding Your Business podcast, you get cool perks like an extra hour of coaching or maybe even 10% off your coaching package. We can't wait to collaborate with you to build a brand that you and your clients love. Okay, so this is hooks. Okay, so now they know their audience. They know their hook. What do they do with that next?
Yeah, so once you have that complete, what's going to happen is your posts are going to start to perform a lot better because people are not just consuming the first few seconds or that first slide of your post, but they're going to go through it for a longer amount of time. And the more time that someone spends on your post, the higher it's going to rank in the algorithm, which is really great. Now, the way that people find you most of the time is through a single post. Like they're not looking at your Instagram account and consuming all of your content at once. Your post might have popped up on their Reels tab or their Explore page, or someone might have shared that to their story and they only saw one post. So now what happens is they're going to like that post, right? Because you resonated with them, because you're speaking their language. They're going to come over to your Instagram account now and they want to see more of that. And oftentimes, I would say, just based off of how I've asked my audience, I've asked people a lot of times, what are the first things that you look at when you go to someone's Instagram account? I would say, if I remember correctly off the top of my head, last time I asked my audience this, it was like 75% of people look at your Instagram bio first. And so what you want to do now is you want to optimize your Instagram bio and the lines of your Instagram bio to make sure that when someone comes over to your Instagram account, that it's so clear how you're serving them and what it is that you're doing to serve that person. So just a very brief breakdown of how you want to outline the lines of your bio. Your first line is who it is that you help and how you help them. Now, because characters are limited, you might go down into the second line with that. That's okay. If you don't go down into that second line, also try and touch on the main topics that you talk about. So like think about it as not even necessarily content pillars, but like what are like the 2 to 3 main things that you cover? Like maybe for example, you are a dietitian, but you specifically help someone with their hormones and weight loss. Like on that second line, it might say hormones and weight loss, something along those lines. Then your third line is going to be your credibility or authority line. That's where you're going to showcase, why should someone trust you? Is it because of your years of experience? Is it because of certifications? Is it because maybe you're a mom and you're giving parenting tips and like maybe you have 3 kids or something? That might be your credibility statement there. So lots of different things that you can do there with that credibility line. And then your fourth line is going to be your call to action statement. And that's what's going to get people to click that link in your bio and get them either onto your email list or purchasing an offer or watching your YouTube or whatever it is that you want to drive traffic to. And you want that call to action statement to be specific. So don't just be like, links below. Like, why do you want someone to click the link? You might have a bunch of different links that you want people to see. What is the main reason why you want someone clicking? So get specific there. A lot of people will say, okay, well, I have more characters left. Do I do more lines? No, only do 4 lines, because what will happen if you do more than 4 lines is if someone goes to your Instagram account, they will then have to tap the more button because Instagram compresses your bio lines. And then the last part of your bio, well, I guess 2 last parts, is your profile picture, close up, clear picture of your face. Don't do something that's far away. I want to see your beautiful face. I want to be able to know if I run into you at the grocery store, like from your profile picture, I know who you are, okay? And then you have your name in your bio. That's where you want to add keywords. So what are the words that your ideal client would be searching for on Google to find you? So if I go back to the example with the dietitian, I would probably put in the keywords hormone dietitian or something along those lines to be able to optimize my bio. So that's the next step for them.
This is huge. I want to almost end it here and then people workshop this. Go right now, pause, do whatever you're doing, pull into a parking lot if you're listening to this, because this can just take a few minutes, but you're like optimizing, again, like filling in that gap of there's people who need you, you can help them. And this is how we use this Instagram medium to help you connect with them faster, where they're Googling you, whether they find you on a Reels page or Discover page. They want to be like, this person gets me. This person isn't just about weight loss. They know what it's like for hormone balancing and how it relates to weight loss. You want to get so specific to that thing that they're struggling with, because they've been probably struggling with this thing for a while. And if you can get so specific so that they're like, oh, Maya really gets me. She understands this struggle. I trust that she can help me. This is huge. And I imagine people listening are like, wait, Maya really gets me. I've been struggling with Instagram for so long. And you have something called Instagram University, which you host year round. What's it like in that community of yours? So folks can be like, okay, I want more than this. Like, I'm going to do these things about our hook and our bio, but I want to learn more about IG University. What is that about?
Yeah, so inside of IG University, the biggest thing that draws a lot of people in is I will give you direct feedback on your Instagram bio, on your posts. So if you're like, hey, is this Instagram bio, optimized in the way for my audience and my niche? I will give you feedback. Me personally, not someone on my team. Me personally, I will give you feedback on that. I'm in there answering questions, offering support. So that's a huge aspect of it. But anything that you have questions on when it comes to Instagram, I've created a training on it. So I've created trainings on how to create high performing talking reels. So that's where that face to camera, I just created a training on that. I'm actually in the process of creating a training right now on creating high performing carousel posts. But I would say the bulk of IG University is content strategy. And so if you are struggling with Instagram, you're like, I'm spending a lot of time on Instagram, I'm not seeing the results that I want to see. It's because you don't have a content strategy, or it's because your content strategy is not built in a sustainable way. And so what I do that is very unique is I'm not going to teach you how to go viral. I'm not going to teach you how to keep up with the algorithm, because at the end of the day, like, that's a full-time job and you don't have the time to be able to make that your full-time job. Even with me being an Instagram expert, I don't have time to make that my full-time job either. And so I'm going to teach you how to build a content strategy that is timeless, that's going to last for years and years and years to come, but it's rooted in your business goals. So we're not just looking at Instagram as a separate entity. We're looking at how Instagram meshes with your business goals, because so many people approach Instagram as like, here's Instagram, I hope it drives traffic to my business, but here's my business and here's my goals over here. And then you're hoping that those two things mesh together, but you're creating different strategies for both of those things. And so I teach you how to build a strategy that's rooted in your business goals. So everything is tied together. I teach you how to build content pillars that are around your offer topics and all of that good stuff. So I would say that's like the bulk of IG University, is how to come up with that content strategy so you're utilizing your content to actually build your business. And it's not just growing followers just to grow followers, because that's not going to get you anywhere, right? And I don't want you to be spending time on Instagram if it's not moving you in the direction of your goals.
And that's huge. Again, it's like big picture things. Like, we know that social media can feel like a shiny object sometimes, of like, we have street credibility if we get this amount of followers. But Maya just let you know that when she hit 10,000 followers, people were not stopping her on the street, even though she expected them to. She's like, you might have seen me from like my swipe up that I recently got. But there is just like so much more to this. Like, if you're really trying to stack memories as well as income, we have to make sure that where you put your energy is actually going toward that it's more sustainable, which I want to pivot. You did such a good job of like kind of double clicking on Instagram, but like, I want to back it up a little bit. There's just folks who are listening like, oh, you know what? I started this business because I just needed an additional income stream. I just needed to make money. And we're talking about specifics of like somehow how to get there. But I wanted to kind of relate this to something we were talking about before we hit record. Content creation can be part of making additional income, but it's also like not everything. So I want to almost do a case study with Maya of like, okay, Maya, girl knows how to stack her income. Girl knows how to create offers and put things out there. As someone who is kind of listening and knowing what doors to close and doors to go through when it comes to like different income opportunities. Tell us about how like Maya, as a business owner in 2025,
Yeah.
how are you creating like sustainable ways to make additional income?
Yeah, for sure. Something that I think a lot of people would find really interesting that ties into this topic, and I'll dive a little bit deeper into this as well. But I I only spend 30 minutes a day on Instagram, 5 days a week, 20 minutes on Saturdays, and 0 minutes on Sundays. And the reason why I say this, and that might sound like a lot to you, but I want you to go look at your analytics. If you have an iPhone, you can go into your settings and you can look at how much time you spend on any app each day, but go look at Instagram and tell me how much time you spend. You can DM me, or you might be too embarrassed and you don't want to DM me. And that's how I was when I realized that I needed to shift the way that I was approaching Instagram. And, I've been on Instagram for many, many, many years, and I've been an Instagram expert now for 3.5 years. And I mean, Instagram, that's my platform. That's not just where I'm growing my business, but that's also what I'm teaching. And it was really hard for me to be like, okay, how can I shift this relationship with this platform that I'm supposed to be spending all this time on to grow? And like Instagram wants you to spend all this time on it to grow, but I don't want to spend all this time on it because if I'm being completely honest with you, don't tell anyone, don't tell Instagram this, but I don't love Instagram. Like I love creating content and I love what the platform can do, but also like it can be a toxic place. And like I don't want to spend my entire life there. Like I want to go out and, be with my cows and, be with my daughter. And my husband. And so I think this was like about 6 months ago. I challenged myself and I was like, hey, I'm going to set a time limit. And you can do this on any phone. And you can also download apps that allow you to do this too. And I was like, hey, I'm going to set a time limit and I'm going to give myself 30 minutes a day, Monday through Friday. And I have to complete all the tasks that I normally do on Instagram in that time frame. Okay. So I post at least once a day during that time frame, sometimes 2 times a day. And I post on my Instagram stories and I respond to comments and direct messages all within 30 minutes. Okay. And again, go analyze how much time you are spending and then come back and challenge yourself. Just cut down on half of whatever that is. If you're like, hey, I'm actually spending 30 minutes a day already, great, try 15. And the reason why I bring this up is because when I became a mom, my time to work my business got cut in half. Not just Instagram, just in general, it got cut in half. Now that my daughter's a little bit older, and anyways, it's not quite the same, but like when she was younger, especially in those first few months, like my time just got cut in half. And so what I realized is I can do just as much as what I was doing before in half the amount of time because I'm working more efficiently. And I'm not just talking like, oh, I went and built out all these different systems and everything, but it was like what I was already doing prior to having her. I was just challenging myself and I was like, hey, can I do this in less time? And guess what? I cut out all the fluff. You know how many times I was checking my email a day? I don't even want to tell you how many times I was checking my email a day. More times than it needed to be, right? And so I have a time limit on my email now. I'm not in there 20 times a day. Do I need to be in there 20 times a day? No. But you just realize like how all these little things add up. And so that all ties into building a sustainable business because I don't want to be spending time on things that are not giving me ROI when it comes to business, right? And so I just got really, really, really strict with the time that I am spending in my business. And I know that it's so simple. You're listening to me right now and you're like, that's her big takeaway, but it is. And I want you to just pay attention to where you're spending your time. Maybe it's not on Instagram. Maybe your platform is TikTok. Maybe you are doing email, whatever it is. Like just pay attention to where you're spending your time. Do a little audit, even if it's like a 1 day, 2 day audit where you're like tracking. It's very tedious, but track your time and see where you're spending your time. And it's going to be an eye opener for you. I promise. I do this with all my clients when they first start working with me. Go track your time, come back, tell me where you're spending your time. And then we're going to look at where you're spending the most amount of time versus what's actually bringing you the most amount of money in your business, right? And so many times it's, oh, well, I'm spending my time checking all these emails or doing XYZ or checking in with my team, but is that actually moving the needle in your business? So that's one thing. The other thing that I would say as well that has been really great for me, not just in 2025, but I would say within the last 6 months and will continue to be a huge focus for me in 2025 moving forward in the name of sustainability and building a life-giving business is getting really strategic about why I'm doing the things that I'm doing. So not just like cutting down on the time and cutting out the fluff. But for me, like if I'm on Instagram, I want to make sure that my content is building my business. And so a huge thing for me, and I would say probably the biggest focus is using that traffic to fill my funnels and then making sure that I'm going in on the back end and optimizing those funnels like crazy. So what I mean when I say optimizing I'm looking at the conversion rate of my opt-in form. Like how many people saw that opt-in form versus actually opted in. I want that high. If it's not high, I'm tweaking things. So how can I tweak the language of that opt-in form? Maybe it's the freebie itself. And then I'm looking at my funnel too. How many people are purchasing my tripwire versus how many people actually saw the tripwire? How many people are, purchasing my offer that I'm selling inside of my funnel? And that is really, really powerful because that's what is allowing me to build passive income. And you're thinking to yourself, well, you have to post on Instagram to be able to get people into this funnel. And yes, that's true. But I've always been posting on Instagram and I haven't been using Instagram in this way until I would say really about the last 6 months. And through direct message automation, when I post once, people find that post for weeks and weeks and weeks to come. There's probably not been an hour within the last, I would say at least 4 months, where there hasn't been someone who's joined my funnel through finding one of my pieces of content and me utilizing direct message automation to then drive traffic into my funnels. And so I think it's, I guess, 3 parts to this conversation. First part, audit your time. Second part is where are you spending your time and how can you get the greatest ROI out of that? For me, it's filling my funnels. I'm already posting content anyways. I'm going to do that anyways. But how can I optimize that even further to help with my business goals? And then part number 3 would be, what are your values? What do you want to do? If you're not a funnel gal or guy, that's totally fine. But like, what are you doing or what do you need to be doing that better supports your values and aligns with the business that you want to build? And it's such a simple question, but like, when was the last time you asked yourself that?
This is huge. I feel like there are people, again, who are like, dang it, I'm going to have to pause this podcast and just chew on this a little bit because I feel like you're blowing people's minds and love to hear someone so excited about this. And this is why you're also a great business coach and helping folks with like building a sustainable business because they can hear how excited you were in discovering this for yourself and you're helping your clients do the same. And so if you all listen to this and some of it went over your head, I know that you all have specifically asked me, praise, I'm a service provider. I want to make a form of additional income. Where do I start? And I'm like, okay, this 10-minute of conversation, it's a lot and you have to double click on a lot of it. But this is what it comes down to. Like, get down to your why. Like, why are you really building this? Understand your audience, like know what they are struggling with, and then have something to help them solve that problem. And then this is my strategy of if you're going to be posting on Instagram already, making sure it connects to this journey, right? I keep on saying this, like you are helping them solve their problem here, but you need to walk with them from here to there. And that's really what a funnel is. She said a lot of things about like tripwires and DM automation. And as of 2025, that's what's hot right now. But the thing is, this will change over time, right? Like how we're walking with people to get to here. So you have to stay up to date to those things. But the general principle is like, keep reminding people that you can help them and then audit it and optimize it, make it better. Again, keep on using that language that resonates with them that they're like, oh, she really gets me. And that's why her offers are like flying off the shelves because she really gets at how to tell people, I get you, I got you, I made this thing specifically for you to help solve this problem. And that's really what building like an online business is. It's just like, I got you, let me serve you. But oftentimes people need a lot of reminders that you have to ping them
You do.
a lot of times because we do this with our friends when we're like sitting having a drink with them. They're like, same old problem. They're talking about the same old thing. And sometimes you just have to be that patient listener to just keep on reminding them, I got you. Here's this other thing. How can I optimize what I'm saying to my friend to help convince them they need to take this step? This is really what creating additional income streams and creating an online businesses is serving these people over and over, which we talked about and a really interesting other entrepreneur in our field who you said hasn't actually created new content in a while, but is kind of repurposing old content because he keeps on saying the same things over and over. And people just needed to be reminded like, wait, this is like a timeless truth. But he is saying it over and over and over again in different ways. Can you double click on that? I thought that was so interesting. And
Yeah.
so just like, this is also the human condition. Like we need to be reminded and he's just doing it in a smart way.
Yeah, for sure. Can I just say something super quick about income streams? I would ask you a very simple question, not necessarily you, Praise, but anyone who's listening. Why do you want to create an additional income stream and why would you not just better leverage the income stream that you already have? something to think about. I'm all about additional income streams, but oftentimes people dive into that too soon instead of let's optimize what you already have because odds are pretty dang high that what you already have is plenty enough to make the amount of money that you want to make. And so I think that's where a lot of people go wrong. So don't think about like, oh, what new offer do I need to create? What new freebie do I need to create? It's like, how can you better optimize selling that offer and look at your conversion rates? How can you increase those even by a few percentages? That's going to make all the difference. So just wanted to add that in there. But in terms of this timeless content creation, I had the opportunity, it was about a month ago now, to learn from Brendan Burchard. And if you don't know who he is, go look him up. Lots of things will come up. He's very big in like the motivational speaker world and all of that. And something that I took away from not just the conversation that he was having, but just conversations that I had with other people who were at this retreat with me is how powerful it is to create timeless content. And, you know, if specifically speaking about Instagram, because that's my main platform, but I would also say this is applicable on TikTok too. A lot of the ways that people are creating content is based off of trends. It's based off of latest news and updates and the greatest tools and features and all of that. Whether or not you're an Instagram expert or not, you're trying to keep up, right, with what's happening on the platform. And that's great and you will grow doing that. I'm not going to say you're not going to grow doing that, but it keeps you on this hamster wheel of having to always keep up. And I get being there because that's how I was for so long. And I taught those strategies and I was like, but wait a second. This doesn't actually align with any of my goals and my values in my business because I don't want to have to be on Instagram 24/7. And I know that you don't want to be on Instagram 24/7 either to grow. And so I was like, wait a second, we need to take a few steps back here. And so it's been this journey of like, what I was saying at the beginning of unlearning of like, okay, wait, I actually can grow by not having to keep up with the trends and keep up with the algorithm. And it is not just an unlearning for me, but so many of my students too inside IG University, they're like, but this isn't happening right now. But I'm like, are you in this for like the instant gratification and the overnight success? Or are you in this for the long run? And they're like, oh yeah, I'm in this for the long run, right? And the strategies work, but when you're in it for the long run, it takes a little bit longer for that to gain traction. But what I pulled away from Brendan Burchard is timeless content creation. So he was saying that he hadn't created a piece of content for Instagram in over 3 years. But if you look at his Instagram account, I think he's almost posting daily, if not multiple times per day. And you're probably thinking like, wait a second, how does that even happen? He has been creating videos and I don't think he creates specifically for podcasts. He might repurpose into podcasts, but he has created one video a week. He's had for like, I think 15 years. And all of these videos, he has strategically made sure that they were not based off of timely or trendy topics because that it then allows him to repurpose that content for years and years and years and years to come. So if you go look at his Instagram account, you probably wouldn't notice this, but now you might notice this if you're looking really closely. Some of those videos are years old that he's repurposing, but they're doing so well because he's not focused on trends or trending audio or trending topics. It's focused on timeless content. And I don't know why, but like sometimes you hear those things and you're like, that was like so simple, but like why was that like the biggest light bulb moment that I've ever had in my entire life? That was one of those moments for me. And you know, I have my own podcast and I repurpose onto YouTube. And so I have some longer form content as well. But a lot of the topics that I talk about, even just one, I was just looking at one of my podcast episodes because I'm going to connect it to one of my pieces of content on Instagram right before I hopped on this recording here. It's about trial reels. And I'm like, that's a timely topic, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. But that's not something that I'm going to be able to repurpose in 2 years from now. And so it's just that shift of like, not even to say that you can't create content on timely topics, but it's like what percentage of your content is the timely trendy topics versus what percentage of it is the timeless content. Just such an interesting thing to think about.
Yeah, and that's fascinating. And he is such a good example of like, is he in it for the short game or the long game? Brother is in it for the long game. He's been
Yeah.
doing it for 15 years and he's using that long game to extend the game more of just like repurposing that too, which
Yeah.
You have such a knack of just like asking the right questions or sharing the right stories. To even go back to what you were saying earlier, like, okay, do you want to chase more shiny things or can you just continue optimizing and refining the thing that's already working for you? Again, long game, long game. Stop looking at like how your thing is just like giving you a flash in the pan right now, but like, how can you make this like have longevity? If it's still giving you energy right now, like, let's just make this better. Let's just optimize it a little bit more. Let's truly make this like a timeless thing that people will always be needing. And then that is what's going to create like a sustainable business. That's how you can create a business where you're only showing up on these platforms for just half an hour a day
Yeah.
or even less, which is huge. This is incredible. Maya, you have been so generous with just like your wisdom. And if I could, I would just like chat with you like all day. But we're going to end our conversation here with a fun game, which I feel like girl knows everybody. So this is going to be
Boy.
interesting. So then I have some cards here
Yes.
and I don't know what words I'm going to pick out, but I'm going to pick words and it's just kind of like a word association game. But maybe there's a business you've helped or a brand that you're familiar with. This is the Branding Your Business podcast. So we are big on values. This deck is called Core Values. And so
Love it.
maybe there is a person who comes to mind or a brand that you're like, oh, they are in tune with this value. Okay. First word.
Boy.
Oh, this is interesting.
Boy. I'm like
Family.
sweaty.
She's nervous.
Family. The person that comes to my mind is Graham Cochran. I was introduced to him, I think it was almost 2.5 years now. I met him at a Kajabi conference and he hopped up on stage. And the topic that he spoke about on stage was building a life-giving business. And he was talking about how, like, he schedules his life first and then he works his business around it. And so he's talking about how date nights with his wife and he has 2 daughters, that's always like first priority. Like if they have a dance recital or if they have XYZ school activity, like that goes on the calendar first and he builds his business around it.
Graham, love that. Okay, what about interesting achievement?
The first person that comes to my mind is actually Brendan, who we were talking about. He's achieved so many different things. Like I said, if you go Google his name, like it's crazy the things he's helped Oprah and like that type of like level of achievement. But he's also so aware of everyone else and helping them raise to the level that he's at as well. And I haven't met a ton of people who are like at that level, but sometimes they give off the vibe of like, I'm in it for me and like doesn't really matter what you have going on, but he's always reaching down to like pull you up and just so encouraging too. He's like, "Oh my gosh, you're doing such a great job." He's like, "I looked at your Instagram content." I was like, "You took the time to like look at my Instagram content?" So that's who I think of as not just someone who has achieved a lot themselves, but has such a deep value of bringing others up to that level too.
That's huge. Yeah, well accomplished, but wanting others to be like have their own achievements too. That's so good. Okay, last one. Hope.
Can I say you?
I guess I haven't had that answer in this game before.
I seriously am not saying this to toot your horn, but anyone who's listening, you probably already know this, but Praise is like just like the coolest, most down to earth person that you will ever meet or be able to hear from. I'm crying. I'm starting to cry now. Could be pregnancy hormones, but I'm just so grateful that we had the opportunity to get to know each other at the Flowdesk retreat and just the amount of like light and joy that you bring, just even like speaking to you, but just like in any space that you walk into, like you just like illuminate the whole entire space. And the reason why I think of Hope though is because any conversation that I've had with you, you just like have such a good heart. And, you know, in the entrepreneurship space where so many people are so self-centered focused, which like it's easy to get into that space for sure, where it's just like me. You have always just given me hope that like we can build sustainable businesses where we are not just focused on ourselves, but helping others too. And so I think of what I was talking about with Brendan just now, putting that hand out to help others and like lifting them up as well. So I just have to give that to you because truly you are so amazing. I have had the opportunity to meet so many amazing people, but there's just something that is very unique and different about you. And again, not just in the way that you do business, but just like as the human being that you are. And I'm just really grateful to know you.
Did someone cut onions in here? Like, it's fine. It's a fine. Oh, I'm a words of affirmation person. So thank you, Maya, for that. This is incredible. People are going to want to connect with you. And they're like, eating up everything you are saying. How can people connect with you, Maya?
My Nichol, basically anywhere. That's my website. That's my Instagram handle. That's where I am on YouTube. So find me at my Nichol.
And that's Nichol.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Find her online. We'll put everything in the show notes too. Maya, you are the best. Thank you so
You are the
much.
best. Thank you. This was an amazing